Hey, it's spring in Timiskaming-Cochrane, and a couple weeks ago we had snow, and now you can see behind me the fields are dry and people are in the field. Just want to recap a couple things that have happened in the legislature in the last few weeks. And one of them, one of the most important bills that have come into the government's introduced is Bill 5. You may have heard some stuff about it in the news. There's some really good. One aspect of Bill 5 is very positive. So specifically for the mining sector, if a company finds a deposit, they will be paired with a liaison from the government, basically a one-stop shop, to help them sort through the myriad of regulatory approval processes. We all agree that it takes too long to get a mine approved in this province. There are other provinces where it goes much quicker. And some provinces, or territories, so Nunavut has stronger environmental regulations than Ontario, yet mines are approved quicker. So we can do better, and we fully support this part of the legislation. And personally, I think that it would be a good idea if other sectors had the same opportunity. If you want to start a big business, that you could come up with the idea and that someone would help you weave your way through government. Great idea. Unfortunately, they've also put something into Bill 5. It's called special economic zones. And in a special economic zone, the government, basically the cabinet, can pick an area and decide which Ontario laws and regulations don't apply, as well as which municipal rules and regulations don't apply. So basically they get to pick, and that includes health and safety, that includes labor, includes planning, includes environmental. Now, their argument is going to be, well, we're doing this so that we can counter the threat imposed by Donald Trump and his tariffs. Well, you could almost buy that, right? Almost, until they declare that Ontario Place, down on the water in Toronto, is going to be a special economic zone. Well, an Austrian spa is not going to stop Donald Trump. What they're basically doing there is they're protecting themselves from the trouble they've got into. And that's a bad indication of what they're planning to use this legislation for. So the Ring of Fire is going to be another special economic zone, and they've declared a few others. But considering the problems that the Ford government has gotten into with the Green Belt and with ministerial zoning orders, you really have to wonder if this is not just, I'm not saying it will, but it certainly could lead to corruption, because what happens if a bunch of developers buy a chunk of land and then that land is declared a special economic zone, and all of a sudden the price of that land skyrockets because you don't have to follow the same rules as the rest of the province. And if you really think it through, what a government should be focused on is making sure that the laws of the land protect everyone and serve everyone, so that businesses can thrive, big and small, and that also people can be confident that they are protected from what might happen because of those businesses. By declaring special economic zones, they're kind of throwing that whole principle out the window. It used to be that conservatives they always railed against people who wanted to pick winners and losers. It shouldn't be up to the government to pick winners and losers. It should be up to the government to make a stable business environment. And here they're doing exactly the opposite. They're picking winners and losers. And the last time they tried that was with the Greenbelt, when they decided to pick winners of who was going to get land to build houses on. And obviously, it blew up in their faces. And it actually hurt the housing sector and hurt the development sector instead of helping it. So the part about special economic development zones, we are completely against, and will likely have to vote against this legislation for sure. Have to vote against this legislation because of that. One other issue about Bill 5. So the way a bill works, it's introduced in the House, and then it gets first reading, which we approved. It got second reading after about, 8-9 hours of debate, and we voted against it. Then we forced it to go to committee. Now that bill is going to impact Northern Ontario greatly, and as a result, hearings should have been held in Northern Ontario. They weren't. They're only being held, even though we asked for it, they're only being held in Toronto. There's actually going to be a hearing on Wednesday and another hearing next Monday. Those hearings were vastly oversubscribed, even though they were very short notice and they were held in downtown Toronto. Still a lot more people wanted to make a deputation than they had time for. They also didn't want to extend the time. So that also tells you that, there are things in this bill that people are opposed to. So when the hearings are done, it will be up to the government when it comes back to the legislature again for third reading. And at that point, we will also express our reservations with what's going on in Bill 5. In closing, I wish that the government would separate the contentious issue, basically the economic development zones, and the parts where they're changing the Endangered Species Act, if it would separate those from the mining part. And that way the mining part could pass. I think, I can't speak for the other two parties, but I'm certain that the official opposition would be in favor of passing the mining part with the government. And that would be great for the mining industry, much less controversial, beneficial for all. But by mixing the two together, they are actually not doing any favors for the mining sector. And if you really think it through, with special economic development zones, deep down, they're not making any long-term favors for industry either.